4 years you guys have made it out of the first game of the NCAA tournament. How hard is that to do? I know seeding has something to do with it. Obviously, you know, if you're one seed playing a higher seed, but how hard is that to get out of the first round, pre-game or first game jitters, those type of things that you have to battle?
Yeah, I think it's getting harder because of the parity and just how good teams are. And you look at how many close games there were yesterday. You know, today I'm not sure if there have been any yet, and you know, even last year it's a battle. You know, a lot of it is matchups, but nowadays you just see that gap shrinking from high major, mid major, BCS, and I think coaches are so good. There's more talented players, so I think there's more to go around. Systems are hard to guard, and that's I'm thankful for that. But yeah, you never take that for granted, and it's always a battle. And obviously, you win around, then it steps up even more. But I'm trying to think when I was at Washington State. But we actually we played Florida my first year in the NCAA tournament. And they smacked us. We were kind of injured going in, but it's the first round. Any victory in the NCAA tournament, advancing is a great thing, and you're obviously trying to continue on. But to do it 4 years in a row is good for our program.
Center aisle.
Tony, Pat Dooley, Gainesville's son. Can you, two questions. One, the difference between first and second rounds. You have the one-day turnaround. You got to change things up. You played 5 guards last night. You probably aren't going to against their size.
You don't think we should? Okay.
Go ahead. But you know,
they're not very tall or anything like that. So
there's a lot of change there. And secondly, what do you remember about that game 5 years ago out in Omaha? And how much has your program changed since then?
Yeah, well, we had some good players back then. We were banged up, I remember. But Coach Donovan, Billy, I got to coach with Billy in the Under-19 World Championships when he won the gold medal, and that was a treat. And Preston Green, their strength coach, and Duke Warner, their trainer. I love those guys. They're great guys. But that program, what Billy had established, they were very gifted and very, very good. Similar to this team, veteran team, high-quality players, well-coached. It was something in that game. I think it was close for a little while, and then separation occurred, and we could not hang with them. This turnaround that you ask about, I consider, you know, every experience you have is going to teach you, good or bad. And coaching in the Pac-10, that's what it was when I was there, were almost predominantly Thursday, Saturday games when I was there. So you always had to deal with that one-day turnaround. Now in the ACC with Big Monday, there's a lot of Saturday, Monday games. So everybody has different philosophies on how they prepare, where your team's at, but I think it's important. And we even used the NC State, North Carolina game this year as I told our guys, you know, you just beat a talented team at NC State. Now you're playing a heavyweight in North Carolina. We have one day to prepare. I said, if we're so fortunate to get in the NCAA tournament, we talked about that, and you win a first-round game, you're going to play a heavyweight, and you're going to have one day to prepare. So let's use this. And, you know, we kind of have mirrored that of how we prepared getting ready for Florida. So your system's in place. You try to do as good of a job as you can scouting, but I think it's important, and you want to be ready. Again, we've advanced 4 times, and different years we've done different things, and I think we have the right formula, but obviously we'll find out as far as what kind of quality we can bring to the table tomorrow night.
Back row on our left.
Tony, it's difficult enough to get kids into Virginia with the academics. When you throw in the fact that you're a defensive-minded program and that's what your identity is, and kids in AAU ball tend to shy away from defense, how tough does that make the recruiting to Virginia, and how proud does that make you that you've been able to recruit kids to fit into that system?
Yeah, I think it's always about fit. And, you know, you always look for the right. I remember when I got the job talking to Debbie Ryan, and we have a great baseball coach, Brian O'Connor, Brian Bolin, tennis coach, and I asked them, Dom Stars, there's some legendary coaches that have been there, and they talk about getting the right fit for Virginia, kids that'll value and appreciate what they're going to get academically. And then, you know, I think the opportunity to play in the ACC, that's one of the reasons why I chose to come from Washington State to Virginia, a chance to test myself and our program against the Carolinas and Dukes. I didn't know at the time it was going to be Syracuse, Louisville, Notre Dame. It kind of changed, but the league is terrific. What's helped us is We've had some success. We've gotten to the NCAA tournament. We, I think, have done a solid job. Our staff has developing guys. Guys are playing in the NBA now that maybe weren't even 4 or 5-star guys, but they've developed. They've had success. They've won conference championships, Elite 8, Sweet 16s, and then they've gotten drafted and are doing some good things either overseas or in the NBA. So that, I think that helps all of that with the recruiting. We are who we are. I think it's okay to make guys defend. That's going to carry over for their professional career. We try to teach them how to play the game the right way and whatever gives us a chance to win. But if someone doesn't think it's for them, then, you know, I make no apologies for how we play. It's our way, and guys can develop and advance. And I'm really thankful for the players we have had, and hopefully we'll continue to find the whole package.
Third row on our right, and then the second. Third row first. Hold on.
Kurt Burmester from TSN in Canada. Coach, just a question about Mariel. He had career high 23 points last night. Does it surprise you that he had a career high on a stage like that was last night?
He, against Butler last year, really had a terrific game, and he was such a key in that comeback yesterday because we went to the 5 guards and they were matching up Devontae, I think it was first name Kaycock, number 15, against him. And we needed to first handle their ball screen defense, so we switched, and he was working hard. And then we got the mismatch on the offensive end, and Mariel's really good off the bounce and creating his shot, whether it's a mid-range or slashing and getting to the rim. And then he added a couple threes, and he got us to at least where we could get connected. And he just went to work. We've seen him do that in practice, and I was so thankful because I said it in the post game after. You know, he said to me, because he was starting for a while, then he didn't start, he wasn't playing, and that's hard on a young man. And we'd sit down and talk, and he read this book. It's called Chop Wood, Carry Water, and he just said to me right after the game as we're walking off, he said, "Coach, chop wood, carry water," which basically just means stay faithful to the process. Stay faithful to the little things. Don't get so consumed what you're seeing at the end result. And that's a mature statement for a third year in college. And that brought joy to my heart because he works so hard on his game, and he's had some valleys of playing time and opportunities, but to see him on that stage do that and shine, and when we needed it, I wouldn't be sitting here right now had he not played like that, and a number of other guys, but I loved it, and just to see the look in his eye, and you know how that made him feel, and he's a great family, great young man.
Second row in the center aisle.
Tony, growing up in the game like you did, you know this time of year is not just the tournament. There's jobs that are changing and switching around. As a coach at Washington State and seeing it from all the angles you've seen it, what have you learned about how to handle that swirl? What have you advised assistants that have been through it? How stressful can that be when you're trying to focus on what your job is when people are talking about other stuff out there?
Yeah, I've seen, my dad was obviously a coach, small college, mid-major, Green Bay, then at Wisconsin. My sister was head coach at Indiana, Evansville, Northern Illinois. I've seen the great side of the business. I've seen the hard side of the business. And, I just try, I always say, just hold things with open hands. I really look at this. This is all a gift. And doesn't mean it's always going to go great, but just to look at it that way and have that kind of perspective, because this is just a short time we're doing this, and can I make a difference? Can I try to pursue excellence with what I do? And sometimes you're the flavor of the month. I always like to say when I was at Washington State, things are going well and stuff gets spinning. Who knows what's accurate, what's not? It's so not about that. It's about where you're at, loving what you do, and treating it as a gift, and just having a peace about where you're at. And that's kind of how I look at the opportunity for our team to play in this, to hopefully advance. And I always tell our guys, can you handle the best that can happen, and can you handle the worst? If you can, then you're going to be okay, because there's no guarantees we're going to be successful tomorrow. It might end, but we could advance. And I think if you can have that kind of perspective, it helps you enjoy it and have joy doing it, and you're not strangling it to death. But there's times that you feel that tension. So.
Third row on our left.
Yeah, Coach, Kevin Brockway, Gainesville Sun. Your defensive system is pretty well-renowned throughout the country. What type of discipline does it take to kind of keep everyone on the same page?
Yeah, I think, first of all, Florida is terrific defensively, and the numbers bear that out. I mean, they spread out and slide, and Mike's they're good defensively and with their length. And our defense wasn't great yesterday, and there's times it hasn't been good. When our defense is right, then we can play with a lot of people and be successful. When it's not, it's hard. But it just takes, young guys that come in struggle with it, some older guys. Our defense is really a team-oriented system, and it's about being more continuous than perhaps is natural for a lot of guys. You can't make one effort, okay, and then stop. You got to be good off the ball. You got to have stance and vision all the time. You have to learn to, instead of being reactionary, you got to be able to anticipate. The good teams can anticipate, and it's just this continuous battle. And it's a mindset, too, that we're going to try to outlast and impose our will on the offense, which is challenging, and we couldn't do it yesterday for most of the stretches. And then we got it right in a different way against Wilmington, but that's kind of the mentality, and you work at it. We work hard on our offense, we work hard on skill development, but you don't just, my father, I said it, and I don't know who told him, it's not what you teach, it's what you emphasize. And defense, you always start at zero every game, and like every practice, that's what we assume, and you gotta work at it. It's discipline.
2 on our left, and then we'll come over to the right.
Tony, Mike Barber, Richmond Times-Dispatch. I'm working on something on your relationship with London, and the assistants were talking about how much you trust him during a timeout. What could we do here? What do you see? I want to know, how long did that take to get to that point, and how special and unique is it, or is it something that always comes about?
Yeah, when your point guard and lone senior is that guy, his feel, I've said it multiple times, I've coached some really good guys with great feel. He's one of the best I've seen. His feel for the game, what he sees, and I love that, because I remember as a player, my father, coach, other coaches, they're telling me something. I'm like, no, I know what's going on. I'm out here. I see how this is, and I think I might have. You got to be open to it. Sometimes a player, if you trust him and respect what he's seeing, it can be a good idea. He made a suggestion at halftime. We got a bucket right out of it to start the second half. He's not right all the time, though, but his feel is so good. And he's played in so many games against so many systems. He understands what I want. So that's significant. And, yeah, no, I'm fortunate to have that. I'm hoping a guy like Ty, he has some feel, and, continuing, just different guys, but you want that in your point guard, and you want to be able to trust them. And some guys just have a natural, innate ability to sense what's going to happen and have good suggestions. I told him he could be a good coach someday if he so chooses. He might have to cut his hair a little bit, but otherwise he's got a great mind for the game.
Well,
Did it take a year or two?
Oh, wait, yeah, you asked that. Pretty quick. He had that feel right away. You could see that in high school when you watched him. And then once he was in our starting lineup, you're like, when he was on the floor, just things started happening. And, he was pretty quiet at first, but when you know it when you see it. And it was pretty much his first year. And once he started doing it in games at a competitive level, some guys do it in practice, and then you see him do it, in a game, and then you realize it's the real deal.
We'll stay right here in the front.
Tony, Mike Bennett from Richmond. You mentioned earlier that the mid-majors, it's really hard to tell, mid-majors from Power 5 conferences. Now, team that you have some familiarity with in terms of playing VCU, in Richmond, they've made 7 straight tournaments. Not a lot of teams have done that, especially mid-major. What do you see from teams like that, specifically VCU if you've watched them, but even like a St. Mary's or Gonzaga, those teams are consistently winning and doing those things?
I'm not even sure they're mid-majors, I know there's the 5, the power, but the talent they have, the level they play at, they're playing high major basketball, but it's very good players, very good coaching, a culture's been established, and that consistency, it's impressive. Yeah, I was at Washington State, and Gonzaga was good long before I was there, but I watched how good they were. We established some good stuff. My father did at Green Bay, that was perhaps, a little bit of a lower tier, lower mid, but I think you just need a real solid system, and I think you need really good coaching to establish that kind of consistency in VCU. The job they've done is terrific.
We have 3 more minutes left. We'll get in as many as we can. Front row on our right.
Coach Tony Cornish, Jr., WCJB TV in Gainesville. What's the one element that you see on tape as you watch Florida that concerns you, gives your gut a tingle? Is it the speed of the backcourt, the athleticism, the length of the front court? What's that one thing UVA must neutralize tomorrow to hopefully get a W? Yeah,
I think, you pretty much mentioned a lot of them because they're so quick. Their ability, we always talk about the bookends of the game for us in our defensive possession, being able to make them go against a set defense because they're terrific in transition. Jason Williford, my assistant coach who's doing the scout, likened them to UNC in terms of how quick they get down the floor. He said they are at that caliber, and sometimes they even do some things that might even be faster at times, and that's impressive. But that and the way they can get on the offensive glass with their length, they're versatile. I think they're really good defensively too, as I mentioned. But we'll have to do what we always do. We're going to have to get it to our kind of game in terms of making them play against a set defense, make them shoot the majority of the shots, contested shots, take care of the ball, and we're going to have to move them. We're going to have to screen them, move them, knock down some outside shots. Hopefully there's some opportunistic baskets for us in transition, but it's just kind of going to be a war of attrition. And I know they're going to try to get their style, and can we outlast them? And not many secrets about this one. And Mike's done a terrific job, and they good staff, the whole deal. So, and there'll be probably a few more Florida fans than Virginia fans, is my guess. So they'll be there in spirit.
I have two more lined up, center aisle in the back and then up front.
Update on Isaiah Wilkins. Is he feeling any better, and what can you get more than 5 minutes out of him?
Yeah, I
Do you
think
need
he's
to get more.
Yeah, he's has been the heart and soul of our defense. He's doubtful. Didn't do anything today. He's been such a key, and he played when he had strep throat, or he was kind of going through that. Helped us get a win at NC State. Helped us then turn around and played a huge role to get us a win against Carolina, and battled. And I mentioned last time I was up here, it's just this virus is hanging on. He's lost some weight and just can't. He pushed for about 4 or 5 minutes, and that was it. He pretty much didn't have anything left and was having some trouble. So he's doubtful for the game. I'm not expecting him to play, but you never know.
Front row.
Tony, David Teal from Newport News. You recruited Devin as a point guard, and he's become much more than that. How much flexibility does that give you as a coach to be able to kind of mix and match with him?
Yeah, and I didn't recruit Mariel as a 5-man, but he played that yesterday too now, didn't he? So just the way the game's going with the spread offenses and the 4 guards, mostly, that's not, I say we're going to play traditional. Well, that really should mean that traditional is probably 4 guards. It's not 2 bigs. But, yeah, he's played some 4 for us because of injuries, the situation with Isaiah, and then his ability. I think his completeness and how he's developed. He's strong physically, and he's really improved this year. And he can handle the ball, and he's stepping out and shooting it some. So I just like his completeness and that versatility. I think that's the way the game has gone. Complete, versatile perimeter players that can play multiple positions.